Name of the person being interviewed.
Tanner, Greenough.
What branch of service were you in?
I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay. What were your dates of service?
2006 to 2010.
And you said you enlisted.
Yep.
And why did you join?
My dad was in the Marine Corps. Part of my early years were spent on a military base in North Carolina. I grew up around Marines. He just kind of instilled it in me, and I just always knew that's what I wanted to do. So.
Okay. How old were you when you enlisted?
I was 17. Yeah, 17. Still just fresh out of high school.
Okay. Do you recall your first days in service?
Oh yeah, like boot camp. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty culture shock.
Tell me about your boot camp and training experience.
Yeah, so it was a culture shock. It's the first time I really left home without anyone, so it was a culture shock. You get thrown into a bus full of strangers. You get off the bus because some dude's screaming at you to do it. You get on these yellow footprints. They're at a 45-degree angle. Everybody stands in a line. That's your first kind of discipline, I would call it, kind of showing you that's how you're going to stand for the next 4 years of your life. You're getting yelled at. They're trying to freak you out a little bit, they want to shock you. Then they throw you right into a barber's chair and shave your head down all the way.
Why do they do that?
I think honestly there's probably issues with like lice and stuff on some people, so I don't know. Otherwise it's all about culture shock. It's all about just, hey, you like your personality with your hair. Like I had hair similar to yours at the time, and whew, gone.
Yeah. My hair is definitely a big thing for me.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Okay. How did you get through it? You said misery and company. Can you explain that a little bit?
So everybody's suffering together. It's a lot easier to suffer with your friends or peers or people around you than it is by yourself. You didn't really get to talk a lot, but you just kind of, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, you look at the guy next to you and you're like, same thing's happening to him. And I'm competitive, so if they're hurting, I wanted to hurt less. Does that make sense? I wanted me to be more capable. That was a competition thing. I came from wrestling here with Coach Woodford back in the day. Yeah.
Okay. What type of work did you perform while in service?
So I was infantry. So mainly just to be blunt, it's training to eliminate the enemy. So you and your team of people, whether that's team of 4, team of 12, team of 30, you work different tactics constantly. So when we trained, it was, here's your weapons, here's what you're training with, and here's how you're going to utilize each other, work together, and eliminate the enemy.
Okay. Did you request your specific job?
I did. That was, I had to be infantry or I wasn't going to go. They initially told me no. They were like, oh, your ASVAB's too high, the ASVAB test. They said it's too high to be infantry. You guys don't do the ASVAB?
I don't think so.
It's like the military entrance exam. It just kind of places you, so it gives you a point. It's kind of like the ACTs, but way less, geared towards military. So you take it and you try to take it serious, and if you get in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, then that's pretty high. I don't even remember what I got, but they told me it was too high to be infantry, which is, that's not true. They just didn't have slots, so I made them get one. So basically they had to find a slot from Wyoming that I was able to use.
Okay. Before entering the military, did you have any specialized skills or training that helped you with your job?
Not really. I would say work ethic. So I was a pretty hard worker. labored, did stuff, did roofing, did landscaping with Todd Barger, did, you know, local stuff. Detasseling was good. I think that's a hard job. It's hot, you know. Work ethic, and then wrestling. I would say if there were skills to come out of anything, man, if you're going to go get in a barroom fight or an MMA fight, wrestling's going to help you, you know. That's how you. So we did that. I mean, doing that kind of stuff in boot camp, I became kind of natural. I was able to learn the karate type stuff they taught, the martial arts stuff they taught us. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads into the next question. It said, what did they teach you in service?
Yeah, so boot camp is the basics, a lot of drill, a lot of, like what we're going to see with that silent honor guard when we go to DC. The Marine Corps' hard on that. Like, they take pride in being really good at drill. So working with your weapons in formation and everybody simultaneously doing it, things like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shooting your rifle, going out in the field and learning things. Marine Corps history was a big part of it. And then you go on to SOI, School of Infantry, and that was special to my job, my MOS. We learned about being a grunt, being an infantry. Grunt is slang for infantry.
Okay.
So I was a grunt in the Marine Corps. Okay. And then, yeah, learning never stops.
Where did you serve? Which division? Which unit?
So I was my boot camp was in San Diego, and then I was stationed just north of there in Camp Pendleton, so it's like 2 hours north of San Diego. I was in 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. So we were in a smaller camp of Camp Pendleton called Camp San Mateo. And then I did 2 deployments. So my first one was called a MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. So we got on a ship with the Navy. They floated us around to several different countries. We went all over the Middle East. We went to Singapore. We went to Australia, Dubai, Bahrain, Kuwait, border of Iraq, that whole thing. So then my second deployment was just a flyover. So we didn't get on a ship that time. We just flew straight over to Afghanistan. Spent our deployment there and flew back.
Did you had to like jump out?
No.
They drop you? They like went down and.
It was a commercial airline from the States, so like what we're gonna take from DC. So actually, we're stopping in Chicago. So I walked through Chicago with my loaded gun. Like I had what's called a SAW, squad automatic weapon. So it was a machine gun. It's a light one. So I was walking through O'Hare with that. Me and my buddies just.
So
it was
like
kind
a
of crazy.
Moment you kind of like knew, you know.
It was just it was weird, yeah.
Were there a lot of people like looking at you and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, but they knew what we were, so that was cool. And then we flew over to Iceland, and then Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan, we spent like a week because that's pretty close to Afghanistan, and then we flew from there to Afghanistan. So we started. I think we spent a week, maybe 2, in Camp Leatherneck, which is a bigger base in Afghanistan. Okay. So a lot of Marines there, a lot of people there, and we then pushed out to our AO. So I know I've said before that we were the first Americans in our area. So we pushed out to that area. I can go more in detail with that later, I guess. But
okay. So just tell me about the military life during those times.
It was pretty harsh. I mean, if I say the word senior Marine, I mean Marines that have been in for a year or 2 before us. So those are senior Marines, and then there's boots. So the younger Marines that just get dropped to a unit. Our senior Marines were Iraq vets that pushed in Fallujah and were just kind of badass dudes, you know. Like they had just done some stuff, so they were mean. I mean, they were harsh. They had seen the worst, so they wanted us to be prepared for it. So they were as hard as they could be on us, you know. So that was kind of hard, but it also it just meant a lot of training. Whereas like peacetime, what I would call peacetime Marines that aren't during time of war, like in the 90s, you know, most of the 90s, they were peacetime Marines, so they learned how to fold fitted sheets, is what I always say, because I never learned how to fold a fitted sheet, you know, but they did, and that's a big deal to them. But I don't care because I was learning how to fight in a war, so that's what I compare. But.
Yeah, I have that written down. You said peacetime versus wartime.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, how was the food? And you said it was a lot of MREs, which, like, how do you rate those? Like,
I liked them. A lot of people didn't, and they get old after a long time. But so MREs, meal ready to eat, they're a lot of calories. I think they're anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 calories in those. So you're supposed to eat like one a day. It's supposed to help you survive through that day. But we would eat 3 a day. We were walking 15 miles a day, and yeah, they were good. There was one called omelet, and it came in a little pouch, and it was like a green omelet thing that looked gross, but I liked it. It tasted fine. It wasn't bad.
Dump water into it or what?
Yeah, so you heat the packages. There's this little like heater that when you add water, it starts steaming and heating up real quick, and then so you put your packets of food in with that, and it heats them up.
Okay. And
there's Tabasco in each MRE. Some MREs really need Tabasco, so.
I'm not a fan of Tabasco, so I probably would just deal with it, I guess.
Yeah.